Passion Harvest. Hello, passionate listeners. Welcome to Passion Harvest. I'm Luisa, your host, International Passion Ambassador. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I have a very exciting guest, Dr. Marni Hill Foderaro. Dr. Marnie spent 35 years as a high school special education teacher. Marnie has a doctorate in education and completed postdoctoral studies at Harvard. She is an award-winning author of the spiritual fiction, God Came to My Garage Sale. Marnie's message encourages all to be open to spiritual signs and live in the present with mindfulness. Peace and love is timely because the veil is thinning. And people around the world are more open to God and possibilities of the afterlife. This is her story, and this is her passion. Dr. Marni Hill Foderaro, welcome to Passion Harvest.
Well, thank you, Luisa. It's nice to be here.
I'm so happy. It's been a long time, so I'm so happy you're finally on the show. We've finally got together for an interview.
Yeah.
I always like to start with a bit of a background. So I know you're living in an incredible place right now, and I'd like to ask you about that later, but some pivotal moments or memorable moments in your life that led you to where you are today.
Well, let's see. We all have our own journeys, and for the lucky ones, it involves some spirituality. And I grew up atheist. My parents, although they were, just very wonderful parents who instilled the love of nature and humanity and goodness and honesty, all of these very good qualities. Religion or spirituality was certainly not part of it. And I, little by little in my life, found that there just had to be more to this world than just we live and die. I just felt like there just was something more. And it really wasn't until later on in my life when I experienced some traumatic life changes. I chose to escape an abusive marriage after 27 years. And, as much as I just wanted to have this perfect American dream, this fairy tale life, and I was kind of living it in a way. I was bringing home the bacon and frying it up in the pan. And so I was, that's an expression that we use here in the States. And, I was working full time. I back in 97, earned my doctorate degree. I was raising two beautiful children, living in a gorgeous home, beautiful neighborhood in the Midwest, Chicago suburbs. But there were a few light bulb moments that made me reflect back on years of situations in my marriage. And I realized, wait a minute, I need to get out of this, and I need to get out of it fast. And actually, when I came to that realization, it was almost like I was just flooded with signs of goodness and peace and love. And then there were signs from the universe that I just couldn't ignore. It wasn't just one or two. I mean, it was many and many, and it opened up my thinking to do some more research on, is there more to this world? And it prompted me, the experience. I ended up having a garage sale where I lost my home. I lost my home to foreclosure, even though I was told it was paid off for 15 years. I went to my bank account because I knew I needed to take care of my children, and all my money was just depleted. It was just taken out the week before. So I knew I was in a pretty serious and dangerous kind of situation. And so I ended up having a garage sale, and I did have many, many experiences during that garage sale that just opened up my eyes. They were mystical experiences even. And I kept on saying, I need to write about this. And I knew I wanted to write a book about my journey and different experiences for a number of years prior to this garage sale. but then this whole experience where I could have been angry, I could have been, I mean, certainly I was devastated. My dream world had come crashing down, but you know what? I just was filled with love and light and freedom, and I knew I would be okay. And so I survived. I'm a thriver. I'm not just a survivor. I'm a thriver. I'm just thriving and doing very well. And I've always loved to write. And so, and actually I'm involved, and we can talk about this later, but I'm involved in, 4 other books. And but the one book, God Came to My Garage Sale, that was the one that I really put a lot of energies into. And since then, I have just wonderful things have opened up. I've met beautiful people, and now I met a life partner, a very good friend that I knew for years, and we just decided to have a life together. And he was retiring at the same time I was retiring, and we decided we travel the world. We love to travel all over: Thailand, India, Israel, many places in the United States. Australia, where you are from, I have not been there yet, but I've met love. Yeah, on the bucket list. But we kept on coming back to the Caribbean. My life partner is an astronomer, so he has very large telescopes, and he also is a scuba diver, and so he was definitely drawn to the Caribbean. I've always been drawn to the water. So we have now lived our dream life in paradise for over a year now. So goodness comes. Yeah. So and goodness
you're
comes
glowing,
out of,
so
yeah, I'm just happy.
It's quite incredible. I've often found that when you surrender to, there is no other option but to move forward, and just the way you did it with such grace and positivity, miracles do happen.
Definitely.
I just want to backtrack on your story for potentially some listeners that are in a situation, whether it's abusive or they're not living their passions or they're unhappy. From my personal experience as well, we stay in situations that are just not positive and, for our best life. What was the decision? I mean, what were there any moments that made you realize you had no choice, and how did you overcome that fear of leaving your husband?
And there is a lot of fear when you are in a situation of domestic violence, narcissist abuse, gaslighting for many years. There is a fear factor. And even though I was extremely accomplished as a person with my education, with my career, with my endeavors, little by little, over many, many years, an abuser will knock you down and make you question your own worth.
Yes.
And even though I'd be like, well, wait a minute, no, I know I'm a good person, and I'm a loving person, and this and that, and I just so I guess there was a lot of buildup, the lies and deceit and mystery. He was a secret agent man, and then I realized, wait a minute, I'm a very open book. And I kept on trying to, hold everything together. And I think children are a big part of that. I'm very, very thankful that my children were both adults when my light bulb went on. But there was just one too many things that just did not add up. And there was a defining moment where it was just, I have to escape. And, now that I have studied a lot about surviving narcissist abuse and domestic violence and trying to make it on your own, all the experts say, plan your escape, but I didn't know all these experts at the time. This whole thing just threw me for a loop. I didn't want to let go of my perfect life dream that I thought was happening. But then I knew I had to. So I only had a week to escape. And I'm glad I did, because anyone who's been in abusive situations realize that, it's already been, I don't know, 6 years or something like that. But the abuse gets amplified after you actually escape. So they use the court systems. They enlist flying monkeys, they call them, which are friends and neighbors. Some people even have family members that turn on them, where, because the abuser wants to isolate you and wants you to lose every security that you have. They want you to lose your job. They want you to, lose your friends. I mean, I was a very involved neighborhood mom for many years. I watched so many kids, even though I was the one working full time and all that. I was the one doing the lemonade stands and having all the neighborhood kids come over with chalk on the sidewalks, and we would have games and stuff like that. Well, to this day, not one neighbor talks to me, even though I was so close with them. I was a Girl Scout leader. I was a lector at church. I was, never had a problem with anyone until I chose to get divorced, and then they all disappear. And so the abuse actually does continue long after you leave. And it takes a very strong person to know their own truth, that they are a good person, and that they would never, even with what was done to me, I never had a need to get back at this person. Of course, I was in survival mode sometimes. I had lost everything, but oh boy, what I gained after leaving was so worth it. So what I would say to your listeners, those that are scared to leave, the best is yet to come. It really is. It really is. But you do have to look out for your safety, and anything you can do to get support. You can just even Google domestic violence or parental alienation or narcissist abuse, and you will find lots of resources out there with people that have gone through this, and they have realized that they need to take their mission is to help others. And I have chosen to pursue more my spiritual interests. I do write about some things, but I'm certainly not the kind of person that has a need to get back at people or have revenge or be vindictive. It's not who I ever was, and I'm not going to start being like that now. I just embrace love and light and goodness. And, in fact, our world right now, we are going through such a challenging time in our world. There's so much division, but I don't look at it necessarily as political division. I look at it as a spiritual warfare. And I hate to even use the term warfare because that has such a negative tone to it, but we're in a spiritual reckoning of sorts where good and evil are being challenged. And it's amazing that even people that you were close with for years and years and years, and you thought your relationships were solid, you come to find out they're not, because you are ascending to a higher level of realizing how much you want, what your worth is, and how much you should or shouldn't tolerate. And then it almost becomes, it just becomes natural to just have to let some things go and let some people go, even though you're tied, you just feel these ties, oh my gosh, we have a history together. We've known each other so long, or, we have children together and I need to stay in this relationship, and at some point you need to take care of yourself, and
Yes.
goodness prevails, and goodness has really, I'm living testament to that when you embrace goodness and you don't partake in the negativity and the evilness that's there, that doesn't have to be part of your world. And so I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic, but I also want to reiterate what you said. One of the fundamental principles, and I do teach this with my clients, is moving forward from abusive marriage, or even if it's not an abusive marriage. Many
Right.
people are bitter and angry, and I think you would use the word revenge or spiteful, but to have negative feelings towards an ex-partner, a life partner, you'll never be free.
Right.
Because you're still attached. You talked about energetically or spiritually, you are still attached. So it's
Sure.
so fundamentally important to only send them love and hope and wish the best. Basically, not think about them so much,
No.
but that's how you're free now, and that's how
Yes,
you're living the life
definitely.
that we want. If you still held on to that with negative feelings, and you're not a victim. So if you considered yourself a victim, you would never be
Right.
free, and you probably would not be living the life that you're living now.
Right. No, and I take ownership for the choices that I made.
Yeah.
I really went into the relationship, many, many years ago with really good intentions and love and positivity. And I do take ownership. I've stayed in it. It's been clear, even after my divorce, that I have had almost a habit of staying in relationships or in situations that are not serving my higher good. And for whatever reason, you do need to kind of figure out what is your trauma and your childhood baggage or whatever that you ended up being in this. And I think just being an empath, so many people that probably a number of your listeners are empaths, where we have such strong love and feeling for people. We cry at Hallmark commercials. We see someone on the street and we just want to reach out and give them the shirt off our backs, because we care so deeply about humanity and people. And but yeah, I don't, the ex-husband doesn't take up space in my mind at all.
Yes.
I think that I must take up space in his mind, because he is constantly with, whether it's a legal threat or it's you know um, uh, making up lies and turning people, even a close family member that knows you so well, turning someone against you. They can't let go, because once they acknowledge, they almost have to face what they have done and who they are as a person. And they don't want that mask to come off. I mean, they love the public image that they have, which is so false. But people are getting exposed. I just don't have a huge need to be the person to expose.
You've moved on.
I've moved on, and
Well, thank you for talking about it. I know it's not something
yeah,
you normally think about, but
no,
just
no,
potentially to help other people who might be going through a similar
sure,
experience.
sure, yeah. But what I would say to your listeners is educate yourself. Take time to reflect and meditate, and really start evaluating who you are as a person and what your dreams are, and get support. A lot of people in our situation with domestic violence, or an abusive situation. Some people have abuse situations at work, and it doesn't have to be like a marriage or anything, but it's scary, because you have to be on your own when you've relied on someone else to take care of some things, and you might not feel strong. But what I would say to your listeners is really think about this, and somehow gather the strength, because there are many people who can get away, and then they never imagined the life that they could live, and the freedom that they could have. And it's so worth it. But, really think through, and not everyone needs to leave a situation. There are partners or work situations that you can make some changes, and if people can work together. I just happened to be in a situation where it was very one-sided. But so not all situations are to be escaped, but definitely take time to reflect on what's meaningful for you in your life. And then part of what has really helped me is I have really seen some signs that I am on the right path, and I've embraced spirituality, not religion so much, but just the knowing that I'm on the right path, and that I'm not alone in this journey.
That would take me on to, I'd love to hear about some synchronicities and your spiritually transformative experiences that you do talk about.
Right. Yeah. There's many
I
of
think
them.
that'd be of great interest. And I'd love to hear about them as well.
Well, there's always, and I wrote about, here is my book.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably backwards to you. I don't know.
No,
But
it's perfect.
Oh, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So God came to my garage sale, and I was fortunate enough. I have different celebrities that have endorsed my book, even James Redfield, who wrote the Celestine Prophecy.
That's an amazing book.
It's an amazing, he actually still has the Celestine vision, and is still out there changing the world. But he doesn't normally endorse people, but he, and I met him when I was in the Chicago area, and I talked with him about my book, and he said, well, I'll give it a look, but I just want you to know I really don't endorse people. And 2 months later, he called me up, read my book, said, I am going to endorse your book. What you are saying about synchronicities and living in light is definitely a message that is very timely for the world right now.
Absolutely.
And so then I through that I did meet some psychic mediums, which, I was never into that. I always thought, well, that's, people are just going to make up stuff, or they'll Google your name and learn something. But I actually had some experiences that I was told some things that, there's no way that anyone else would know. No way. And I was told this information. So after having, I don't know, probably 20 of those type of confirmations, not everyone is a legitimate psychic medium, but I certainly have met internationally. I have met some people that I believe are. Those readings have changed my life. I also began attending IANS, which is the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And that is a group of people that, where they have documented thousands of cases where people have died and come back. And, many people have known, oh, they see a bright white light, and, but they might chalk that up to, oh, something's happening in the brain when you pass away or something like that. But there are too many experiences that
near-death experiences
that have, altered people's lives. Eben Alexander and his life partner, Karen Newell, I've had the pleasure of meeting them and hearing them speak. He was a Harvard neurosurgeon.
He's been on the show.
Oh, has he? So
yes.
Your listeners will know. I mean, that is definitely his experience. I mean, he ended up having to leave the medical profession. He was so compelled to tell his story. So the near-death experiences were a part of it, but also I had experiences with finding pennies. Well, people say, oh, people find pennies in parking lots or whatever, but no, there were pretty significant pennies with dates on them, and at certain times, or there were feathers, and not just normal feathers. I mean, just feathers that were very, very unusual, like in the coloring of a late dog that I knew that just passed away the day before, and the next day, those exact same colors in the feathers were presented to me, not just one, but like 100. Okay, so that was just bizarre. So I've had just a number of experiences that and at that garage sale, I mean, I actually had an experience where a person came to the garage sale, and he just was there at the right time, saying the right things, and I don't even remember him leaving, and I don't remember, it was just like I saw him starting to walk, and then he just disappeared into thin air, and I know I was only drinking lemonade, so I know what I saw. I know what I saw. And so, I think I had to be at a point where my mind was open.
Walking
I had to
consciously
go,
as well.
yeah, I had to go through the hardships to end up having the ability to experience these things.
And how did the power of, or God, or the power of prayer come into supporting you now and in the past?
Well, I find God in everyday things. I did enjoy going to church services at one point in my life. I was a lector, so I was reading the Bible, and I did find some peace in that, and more so in the community of church, of just the connections that you make with people. But so I did experience that, but I also find God in everyday life. And I live in the Caribbean, so every single moment here, I've been here over a year, and still a day doesn't go by where I'm not amazed by a rainbow, a sunset, even a bug that, even though I'm not a fan of bugs, I'm just fascinated by some of the things that I see in nature. And so I think that I just experience God in everyday situations, but I also experience God in connections with people, like that that you end up meeting people and you think it's a coincidence that you have this so much in common, or that you were there to help them at a certain time in their life, or vice versa. But I think that God has a hand in that. And I think it's important. I spend a little time each day just quieting my mind. I'm in the ocean almost every day, or my pool. I'm always in water. But I'm taking walks, and I'm just, I'm quieting my mind to just connect. And sometimes when you put an intention out there, you do quiet your mind, you'd be amazed at what comes back to you. So I think that I do experience God, and I do believe in God. And I believe that even in all different religions, I've been fortunate enough to travel the world. So we spent time in Jerusalem, where there were different quarters to the area with many different faiths. And I believe that we all have this one God. There might be different ways to get to this one God, but and with Rick, my life partner, his love of astronomy and looking at the stars, and I've been fascinated to see the planets like Saturn and Jupiter so close, and it does make you realize that there's more to this world. There's a very big world out there, and there's just too many amazing things to think that it's all just some science, some sand mixed with some water that made a perfect human body or something like that. It's just
you're walking so consciously, and it's almost since you left, and the power of surrendering, since you've left a relationship that wasn't serving you and you overcame your fear. The power of surrendering brings great transformational change in your life, in my life, in all of our lives. And it's incredible when you think the future could potentially be worse than the past, but
right.
you've created this amazing life for yourself, and the fear that you had is just completely dissipated, and you probably
Right.
thought, why did I wait so long, or what was I
Right.
so afraid of? We
But
all
it
do that looking back, but
but
there
it
were
prepares
lessons.
me. That situation prepared me for a few other situations I've had to face.
Mm.
And it's almost like, God gives you what you can handle at that time.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily look back at regret. Um, it was all part of my journey. And, if I were to look back and just completely regret being married to this abusing person, I wouldn't have my two beautiful children,
Oh, of course. And you have to
and
look at, what did I
yeah,
learn from that
right,
situation, and
right,
find
definitely.
gratitude for that
Definitely.
lesson.
And you hope that they go on to just realize their role in things and maybe what's important in their life. And not everyone can do that, but you just hope that the world will goodness will prevail for all people. You just hope that um, you know that that people can just find that there is a good way to live in peace and harmony. And, there's a lot of wonderful people out there and a lot of wonderful experiences still to have. And I just believe goodness is happening now, and it'll continue to happen.
Well, everything we see is a reflection of our vibration. So the more you output that energetic vibration, the more types of like people will come into your life.
Right. And actually, this brings me to another point you were asking about synchronicities.
Yes.
One experience I haven't written about yet is where I think people, just like you're saying, can manifest things. We can, like our vibration, if we choose to focus on negative, then maybe more negative will come to us. If we choose to focus on positive, more positive will come to us. But I have actually experienced manifesting even physical things. So, for example, I was out on the Eastern Shore with my parents, and I was ready to come home to the Chicago area. And my life partner and I were walking on this beach right by the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. I think it's called Sandy Point. We have a Sandy Point beach in St. Croix as well, but it's a different Sandy Point beach. And we were just so excited about moving to the Caribbean and looking forward to that adventure. And I remember, Rick was way ahead of me walking on the beach, and I was just saying that I was so thankful, that I was so blessed in so many ways, and that I'm feeling the wind, I'm around water, I'm just walking in nature. And I said, to myself, gosh, the only thing that would make this situation even better is if I could find a piece of Cheney. And Cheney, just so you know, is old Danish pottery that we find in the Caribbean a lot.
Okay.
It just washes up on shore. And it's just beautiful, beautiful pottery that little pieces wash up and people make jewelry out of it. But I had said, here I am in Maryland on the Eastern Shore. They don't have Cheney in Maryland, but I said, God, if I could only see a piece of Cheney, I would, that would make everything so complete right now. And I look right down and there's a piece of Cheney, a big piece of Cheney.
Amazing.
It was Cheney, and we since have had it checked out by, jewelers that are just like, yes, this was Cheney. The odds of finding that were none. The percentage would just be like below zero, big time. And so I believe, and if it was just that one experience, maybe not, because I've had many experiences where I've actually manifested something physical, and never would have believed anything like that until I experienced it. And luckily, I've had other people around me when some of these things have happened, so I have witnesses. It's not like, I'm just, my mind is playing tricks on me, or I'm willing something my way. So that is another synchronistic experience that I ended up having many, many more like that.
Wonderful. And in terms of manifesting for the audience, if you have to break it down in steps, how would you break it down?
Well, I haven't really thought about it, except the times that I have been able to manifest are times when I just put the intention out there and just said, you know, God, please be here with me and make this happen. And it's as simple as that. So, I mean, honestly, it's not any big ritual of any kind. It's just, putting the intention out there. It can
And
be as simple as that.
but I also think it's the state you're in. You're living in a state, for the most part. I mean, we are human, but you're living in a state of gratitude and
Yes.
conscious awareness. I think that's fundamental as well. And you're free, but not externally necessarily. Well, you are externally free, but
Yeah.
internally you have a great deal of freedom within yourself. I think
Right,
those
right. And
factors.
so it's all part of, it probably, like you're saying, I did have to get to a certain state in my life. And and that probably made a difference in being able to manifest or to be open um, to having signs from the universe happen.
And trusting, I mean, also, I just thought trusting in yourself and believing that it can actually happen, because that's a huge shift as well. The
Right.
power of belief.
Right. And I didn't have that for many, many years. And then when I was busy raising my children, you're just so busy. You don't really, I mean, you're living a good life. You're trying to do a lot of things, but you're not really quieting your mind and reflecting because you're so busy. And so it does take, I think, a certain time of your life to say, wait a minute here. And writing has been very therapeutic for me. Gardening used to be very therapeutic for me. And so, being out in nature, and for me, definitely the ocean is a big part of it. And traveling and seeing other people and other cultures and beautiful scenery and historic towns and villages, opening my mind to there's such a bigger world out there that,
Yeah,
it just opens up a lot of things. Yeah.
that's beautiful. Well, is
Yeah.
there anything else you'd like to talk to the Passion Harvest audience about?
Oh gosh. Well, what a wonderful opportunity that they have to listen to you and all your many guests. I just think that you are providing such a needed um, venue for people to talk about things that are very important in this world. And so I'm glad that they have that. And I just think that people should really try to continue to look at the good in things, and not dwell on the negative. It's not that you have to acknowledge the negative. You have to feel it and experience it. But when you choose to embrace positivity and how you're going to handle it, if you respond and you don't react, that can help bring you to more peace and harmony in your own life.
Beautiful. What a beautiful message. And on a final note, if someone, I always like to ask this question, if someone's looking to find or follow their passions, what is your advice?
Oh my goodness.
No pressure.
Yeah, no. I would just say, try not to get your cue from other people. Try to search deep within yourself of the kind of person that you are and what makes you happy um, and what brings you joy. And um, it could be volunteering, it could be teaching, it could be creating art, it could be working, tilling the land. It could be whatever it is. You just find out what is very important to you that brings you peace. And then I would say, take some time alone just to reflect on that, and then just realize the steps you need to do to move forward to that. You know, a lot of times we feel stuck, but we are the ones that keep ourselves stuck sometimes. Our own minds sometimes hold us back from our potential. And
that's a great point.
yeah, sometimes it's just within us. It's, you know, no one else is doing that. And so if we have that much power to hold ourselves back, we also have the power to move forward and bring ourselves and therefore other people around us joy, love, and peace.
What a beautiful message, Marnie. Thank you so much for being on Passion Harvest.
Oh, you're welcome.
And sharing so openly and honestly your journeys and your adversity and you know, living a beautiful life in the Caribbean.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And
Thank you so
been
much.
a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'd love chatting with you.
Well,
Bye.
thanks. All right, bye-bye. Take care.
If you like this episode, please do subscribe for weekly passionate, inspirational interviews.